Hello, everybody. My name is Michael DeJoy, and welcome back to the Dash Trader Newsroom. This is the second quarter earnings season update and forecast. And my name is Michael DeJoy. I'm the Director of Education and Licensed Professional here at Dash Trader. I'm joined by my co-host, Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter from Nasdaq. Jill, how are you today?
Doing well.
Doing good. Jill joining us from the Nasdaq market site as always. Or most of the time lately, it's really good to see her back in the city. Jill, how is it being back in New York City?
I have to tell you that the past week it's as busy. It feels like pre-COVID busy out in Times Square. I was just out there before, running back from a meeting, and it was. There are tourists back.
The tourists are back in New York City, and so is earnings season is back. We are once again in earnings season. I know some of the banks had some pretty good earnings as well. And Microsoft beats on both the top and the bottom line, and their AI cloud service also outperformed. What are your thoughts on Microsoft and their pretty strong beat? I mean, the stock was rocking today.
I mean, it was a solid beat, and they're hitting on all cylinders. I mean, it's been really a great turnaround story, but in the near term, what they're doing with AI, what they're doing with cloud, I also think that, a number of these big names, Microsoft, I mean, Meta had a fantastic quarter. So you're getting a little bit of juice in there for the Nasdaq 100 overall. And you have to remember these, big 9, 10 names are all part of the Nasdaq 100 index, which is why you're seeing it. I think it's up about 2.5% at this point,
Yeah, it was a big
outperforming all
day.
the other indexes for that reason. But AI is going to continue to dominate the headlines in the tech space. And I think, right now, those conversations are really going to center around Microsoft, Google, what's happening with Apple, OpenAI we'll be hearing a lot about. So it was just a solid beat.
Yep, not much more you can say. I mean, the good thing is that helps and assists the entire tech sector because Microsoft is such a large component of the Nasdaq. And that brings me to the next big component of the Nasdaq, Meta. Now, Meta actually, I believe Meta means dead, but certainly Meta is showing that it is far from dead today as its shares popped 15%. And shares pop 15% on a sale on their sales quarter over quarter beat analyst expectations. And I think that bodes well. I mean, I guess that means that advertising spending may be back because Google also had a beat on its revenue as well. That I think they came out with earnings the same day as Microsoft. But so far we've had at least a couple of the tech giants come out with all beats.
Yep. And I think, Mike, the market was collectively holding its breath to see just how well these performed for the quarter, because like we said before, 9 to 10 of these stocks have been leading the market. We have that heavy weighting. So you have the concentration risk. That's it, right? So they're beating on the quarters, the market's reacting well, seems like a sigh of relief. But I mean, Mike, if you look back, what was it, November, call it week of November 5th-ish, around there, the stock's at $88, right? It's trading at 238 now.
It's
I mean,
crazy.
if you were super convicted in the strategy there and you were, acquiring shares there, it's one of your better trades.
I mean, that's an amazing trade. I mean, that is an amazing core trade. I mean, markets were kind of deeply undervalued at that point. They are getting back into that overvalued territory, though, which is something to consider, right? Like, I mean, the PE ratios are getting up there again.
They are getting up there. I had a number of AI experts on the show this afternoon, one of them being Daniel Foreman, who's well known in the tech circles. And while they had good quarters, and you think about ad spends, when I think ads are more annoying than they've ever been, you think about SEO in terms of Google and search. Now that we are more familiar with generative AI and sort of how that's going to help to transform, the web as we know it, Web 3.0, will this matter as much when you have content creation not coming from intermediaries like Facebook and Google? It'll be more user-generated content. How important, when you think about it 5, 10 years down the line, what will ads and SEO look like then, right?
Yeah.
You don't need to go to Google to search. You go to ChatGPT, you put in your term, there's your explanation. right?
Boom.
So,
Yeah. That's something that it probably would do far better than any human because it's tedious, mundane, like trying to create different, search words and combining them together. That's where AI really has an advantage over a human counterparts, probably just in the area of like, in marketing, putting all that tedious stuff together that I mean, I would imagine that an AR service could probably do a good job on finding the keywords that would best perform in analyzing that data.
but
Very
Mike,
good
like,
point.
think about it like this, right? So, um, let's say you put in a search term, um, what does modern farmhouse style look like? What does that mean in terms of design? If you were to do that in Google, you get, whatever top 3 companies are paying for ads, or, however Google determines SEO. Or if you go to ChatGPT, you're going to get the definition that you're looking for. You're not going to get
Got
all
it.
these, you know what I mean? Like that,
Without a
how does that
doubt.
impact
Yeah,
our business?
I got it. I got it. Very interesting to say the least. Let's jump right ahead and take a look at our next topic of conversation, which is an important one because obviously First Republic is sliding down that slippery slope again. Is this a revisiting of the or restart of the banking crisis that we sort of just went through?
Again, I think this is probably idiosyncratic to the bank. It's certainly not systemic. Certainly, there was comparisons at first when this started, 2008, 2009. That certainly um, is is not the case. I feel like it's more specific to that bank. You really, that kind of impacted trading yesterday. But then, when you get these big tech earnings, that's what the market is focusing on right now.
Yeah.
If it really was, a crisis, it would look a little bit different in terms of trading activity
Yeah,
today.
this was a very local kind of continuation of the problem that was kicked down the road probably 30, 90 days ago. So this is just a continuation of the original problem, and it's still pretty much been isolated to First Republic. So this might just be an isolated situation, and hopefully it is, and that no other banks fall into the same pitfall.
Right. I mean, the regional banks, they reported decent quarters. Again, this banking situation happened second week of March. So you're looking at the back half of Q1. We don't know what that will look like when they start to report Q2. If there's more to be said about that, there wasn't,
Yeah.
enough that happened in this quarter to make that determination.
And to the original Band-Aid that is just, continuing to be peeled off because the First Republic was kind of a bandage situation. It got some emergency funding, and we knew that we'd be hearing about this one again. And that brings me to my last item of conversation for today, which is the U.S. GDP growth rose 1.1% for the first quarter. And I have a couple of charts up here, and I mean, you can see that obviously the growth is really slim. I'm just going to bring up my laser pointer real quick so you can see here that the growth is very, very slim here in 2023. But not only that, you can see that we had the big divot of the pandemic in this quarterly depiction of GDP growth. But this is confirming that the economy is finally slowing down. And from a Fed perspective, what do you think the Fed's reaction is going to be? Because we're kind of in bizarro land now, where when the economy is slowing, the market perceives that as a good thing because then maybe the Fed won't cut rate, won't continue to increase rates, and maybe they'll cut rates. So, what is your interpretation of the GDP number as it goes as far as the Federal Reserve Bank is concerned?
Well, we have the meeting next week. I think it's 75% is baking in that we'll get a 25 basis point rate hike. Again, and you and I have discussed this ad nauseum. One data point is not a strategy shift to make.
Yeah.
They've been very clear that they are not going to, shift the strategy around too quick. Will they pause? Perhaps. Will they cut? I'm not sure this year, Mike.
I don't see cuts. I see pause or 25 basis points. I mean, I,
Mm,
I would say I would lean in the favor. I mean, if I was in the Federal Reserve, I would be in the favor of a 25 basis point rate hike, as you don't know if inflation. We're going into the summer. Oil prices tend to rise in summer. We've had an OPEC cut of production. Cut of production at OPEC means higher oil prices. I mean, that's about as far as it goes. That means inflation could raise its ugly head again. If I was in the Federal Reserve's shoes, I would definitely say a quarter basis point. But, what are your thoughts?
I still think it's high. And I actually had this conversation last night where you run the risk of consumers getting used to paying for more in the food store, right? Even if inflation does come back in, or the supply demand, overhang from COVID gets more normalized. Do you think companies are necessarily going to cut prices because they're always going to have to worry about margins and showing profit?
Yeah.
I don't know. You know how it is, Mike. Once you get the consumer used to something, it's really hard to dial that back. We've seen it in the size of packaging. There's a term for it. I forget what it is.
Shrinkflation,
That's it.
shrinkflation. I was just
Shrinkflation.
going to mention shrinkflation because every time I
Right.
go to the store, what I used to buy got smaller and the package got bigger.
Yep. So, you know, what's that going to mean for the consumer? History is a guide. They usually do not dial prices back,
No,
particularly
and they
in.
usually lag. History got the
Right.
guide says that the Fed continues to raise rates long after they need to. Like they'd
Right. Well, I
rather
mean,
overkill.
but what does inflation impact the most, right? Consumer goods, retail, which is notorious for having super thin margins. So are they going to
Hmm.
rush to cut prices back?
And we saw that today too. I mean, Gap just laid off a bunch of people today as well. I saw that Gap had laid off, that did a bunch of layoffs. So I mean, we're starting to see the slowdown in the economy, and you're starting to see layoffs. And the Fed is watching all these things, but I think the Fed prefers to act slower rather than be ahead of the curve. At least that's traditionally what they've done. So I think you and I are in complete agreement on that. Well, thank you so much as always, Jill. I want to wish you a wonderful weekend
Thank you.
and a last day of the week.
All right. You too. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.
See you soon, Joe. Bye
Bye.
bye now. All right, I'm going to jump to the to my charts as far as, let's see. Let's move to our market analysis phase, and we're going to go over some of the Dash Trader charts here. So let's just jump right in. All right, so let's take a look at some of the big names that we mentioned today. And let's go to Microsoft. Well, let's first take a look at the QQQ because obviously we saw that the entire index was moving to the upside, skyrocketing to the upside, really testing prior resistance here. This little double top is being tested. However, the real level of resistance is the 330, 335 level. All right, so 330, 335 level. I'm going to put in a horizontal line here, right where my purple line is. That is the very, very key level of resistance that we've all been concerned about. And that is the level that, that potentially may stop the Nasdaq. Let's see where the SPY is. SPY, not quite as bullish as the Nasdaq. We still have to get to our 415 resistance level. 415 is the first level of resistance. 420 is the next level. 430 is the next level, right? We have a crossover of the moving averages and the signal line. Okay, we have a negative histogram. Okay, so we have all this in the context of really what is a sideways trend in the market. If we put this on the weekly, you can see that yes, this is kind of like a little kiss back, and we're going into what our moving averages on the on the weekly. We are above all of our moving averages, so we're technically in bullish territory. On the SPY and on the QQQ. QQQ looking way more bullish, especially with all these strong tech earnings. There is a little double mountain, double top here on the CCI that is divergent from the price data. So that's something to keep an eye on for sure. Let's take a look at MSFT. Microsoft, strong bar to the upside, really coming in and homing in on that 310 resistance level with a 340 ultimate 52-week high, maybe even slightly more than 52 weeks, but needless to say, that's the all-time high. Now let's look at Meta, META. Meta, 52-week high already. That was after the big plummet. But remember, Meta kind of fell a little sooner than most when they had those Facebook hearings. So certainly Meta, skyrocketing here to the upside. But there is some dark cloud cover in the CCI, at least the way we're looking at it on the weekly. On the daily, we had a big gap up. We're going to see if that gap and go continues on the daily. Certainly, if you look at Microsoft on the daily, we got a beautiful gap up and go. We broke up. This is a day 2 play. If you're interested in finding out all of these plays that I'm mentioning about, I will be talking about them further when we have an event at the Nasdaq market site on June 12th. We're going to have a 1-day training session at the Nasdaq market site, which is setting up your DAS trader for trading. And I'm going to be talking about that more when I go back to the slides. But stay tuned if you're interested in finding out more about that live training event where Jill comes to us from at the Nasdaq market site. So certainly that's going to be a great place for you to learn all about your DAS trader software, and certainly learn about configuring everything, but also experiencing the Nasdaq closing bell, which is a great life experience, to kind of boost and give you a little bonus to your day of training on DAS. So here we have Microsoft. Let's take a look at Google. We also had a big earnings move on Alphabet, which is Google. Nice move to the upside today. So some follow through. We have Amazon. Let's see, Amazon. I think I typed that in wrong. Amazon. Boom, look at Amazon. Explosive move to the upside on Amazon. A move from 108 up to 119. That's a 10-point move. That's a beautiful breakout pattern on Amazon. So certainly Amazon making a move to the upside as well. So we got a lot of movement in the tech space. Now let's take a look at gold, GLD. Gold holding in there, man. I mean, not really giving much back. GBTC, we've had, Bitcoin and all of the crypto space has done really well. I mean, you got a double from 8 to 18, over a double on the GBTC, which is the Bitcoin ETF tracker. Now, I was mentioning USO. I was mentioning USO, which is oil. And when I look at oil, I mean, we've made a nice move up off the lows, but it's definitely setting up for a bullish kind of bull pennant formation. So I would keep an eye on oil prices. We have had 2 weeks down, but certainly oil has some possible upside coming soon. And if you could stay with me here as I talk about our upcoming training event that we're going to be doing at the NASDAQ. So this is a live DAS training event at the NASDAQ market site with closing bell ceremony. Train on site with DAS experts and attend the live closing bell ceremony. That's on Monday, June 12th. You are, if you're an avid DAS user or if you're somebody who is just looking to learn some advanced skills, come learn with me. I'm going to be the instructor. Space is extremely, extremely limited. There's going to be a link inside of the description of this YouTube video for you to sign up. Not only will you learn the intricacies of the DAS Trader Pro platform, but you will gain trading knowledge about how to apply it to your trading. So certainly it's important to know your platform so you can manifest your will on the market. But not only that, you need to be able to apply it to your trading style. The schedule of events is on Monday, June 12th from 8:30 a.m. We have a light breakfast, meet and greet. Then at 9 a.m. we're going to start creating DAS Trader Pro layouts for each specific style of trading. That's scalping, gap trading, swing trading, options trading. We go a lunch break at 12. At 1 o'clock, we're going to go through setting up hotkeys using the script editor. We're going to configure your trade signal and other filters. Plus, we're going to go over all the advanced features till your heart's desire, or until 3:30 when we go downstairs and experience the NASDAQ closing bell ceremony. And then at 4:30, I'm going to take you the students out to a cocktail hour hosted by me. And we'll take a little wander around New York City and have a nice evening from there. So I really hope that you decide to join us. It is All total, it comes out, if you sign up now with the early bird discount, it's $500 for an entire day of training and the Nasdaq closing bell ceremony. And it's just a great experience and a great way to learn your Dash Trader Pro platform. On that note, stay up to date with all things DAS by signing up to our newsletter. Email, simply fill out the form at the bottom of the webpage at dastrader.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and that's Dash Trader TV, and our Dash Trader Newsroom reminders. Follow us on social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you at our event on June 12th. Remember, seating is extremely limited, and that early bird discount is only going to be available until May 15th. So make sure that you sign up as soon as possible, because you'll either run out of the early bird discount or there will be no more seating, as we can only have 20 people at this event. So it is very personal. Trade well, everybody. See you all next time.